Hello, my wonderful, wonderful friends, and welcome back to r/IDOWorkHereLady, where people who work at places are mistaken as not, and the stories are really, really entertaining. Guys, I hope you're having a lovely Saturday today. If it's not Saturday, I hope you're having a lovely day in general. And in this episode, I've got 3 stories for you. The first was emailed to me by a subscriber, and it's about the time he worked for his dad's company, and he was mistaken as a robber. The second story is another subscriber submission, and it's about the time OP's boss put a Karen in her place. It's always fun hearing about those, and we'll finish up with a story where a bouncer does not let OP go to work because she believes that OP's just some drunk punk trying to cut the line. I hope you stay for the stories today, and do hit that subscribe button for future tales. Guys, let's dive in. This first story is titled, I do work here. How do you know my dad? My dad owns his own company that's contracted to do a lot with big communication towers. They're usually hired by companies to install these giant towers, install or remove antennas or communication boxes, troubleshoot issues, and you get the gist. I started helping out during summer break throughout high school, and when I graduated, I was hands-on full-time through the week, and then in school on the weekends. Of course, there's some work I couldn't complete because I needed to be certified for, but there was a surprising amount of things I could do while on site without these certifications, legally. A lot of the times, I was doing some manual labor, while the lead technician I was partnered up with would work on the more technical stuff with the towers. On one particular job, the lead tech and I had gone out to a site in the middle of the boonies that happened to be on private property. It was a big old farm acreage, and it looked like they had all sorts of animals and crops that I saw as we drove through. The dispatcher had called the property owners ahead of time to let them know we were coming, but had left a message on their answering machine. It's pretty routine stuff. We also recently went through a bunch of changes with our work vehicles, and the truck we were newly assigned did not have the company logos on it yet. It was a sparkly, new white Ford F-150 in our possession. Now, on site, there was a fenced area with a large tower and a little shelter or shed beneath it. One of the machines inside the shelter was showing some error, so the lead tech was gonna go troubleshoot it. Now, the fence wasn't locked, as the access to the tower and the shelter were locked. My job was to clean up in and around the shelter and make sure things looked physically well and nothing was out of place. While I was inside the shelter checking the fire extinguisher certification date, I heard a loud bang outside. Both the lead tech and I jumped, looked at each other, and peeked outside, and we were greeted by 7 horses in the fenced area, surrounding our truck and the shelter. I saw one particularly large horse right next to our truck. The passenger side door was totally collapsed inward, and I had the pleasure of watching the horse turn, stomp angrily, and buck the truck again with all of its might, forcing it to rock to the side real hard. The lead tech looked at me, smiled and said, "Good luck," then went back to work on the machinery inside. Since I was not the most experienced, it came down to me to herd these horses out of here. So shutting the door behind me, I spent the better part of an hour acting like an idiot trying to get the horses out. After I got most of the horses out, I had one left, who was this pretty brown spotted horse that seemed pretty calm. They all had bridles, and this one just stood there and let me come up to pet it. I took it by the bridle and started to lead it out of the area gently. Right when I got near the entrance of the site, I was greeted by an angry, gruff-looking man. He came up angrily to me and shouted, "Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?" Still holding the horse by the bridle, I said, "Hi, I was just trying to get the horses out. Are you trying to steal my horse?" "No, sir." I let go of the horse immediately and told him that I'm from ABC Tower Company. We're just doing some site work. He replied, "There's no way a kid like you works there. You're trying to steal my horse." I told him no, the horses just got into the area and I was just trying to lead them all out. He started screaming and saying that I was trespassing, that this is private property, and he grabbed the horse and led it away from me. I replied, "Sir, I understand that this is private property, but we contacted the owners yesterday explaining that we'll be on site today." He shook his head at me and said, "No one called us. I know George, the owner of ABC Tower Company, and no one called. You are trespassing. Get off the property or I'm calling the police." I said relieved, "Oh, you know George? That's my dad. He knows I'm out here. You can call him if you'd like to verify." The guy said, "Puh, you only know his name because I just said it." Gesturing away again, he said, "And you're too old to be George's son. That kid is like 12. Take your truck and get off the property now. I'm calling the police." Thankfully, the lead tech heard the commotion and came running outside to my rescue. He recognized the farmer and helped defuse the situation. When he confirmed that I was in fact the son of the owner, the farmer scanned me up and down, laughed aloud and said, "What? No way you're George's son. You're too good looking." The farmer then apologized for how he reacted to me and said his wife likely took the message but didn't pass it on. As a bonus, the incident report I had to fill out regarding the damage the horse did to the truck was fun. Safety had a hard time holding it together when I had to explain to them that a horse decided to take out the side of our truck. That farmer was right to be suspicious of those guys. Horse theft is a really common thing and has to be stopped. I'm kidding, I don't know if it's common, but I do know people steal horses. And if you're in Florida and you steal a horse, you can face up to 5 years in prison. I don't know if that's true or not, but my grade 5 teacher told the class that. And that's pretty much the only thing I remember from her, horse theft. This next story is titled, "You Can't Fire Me. I Own the Place." So, I used to work at this computer laptop repair shop inside a shopping mall. Listening to these stories reminded me of a good one. It was a privately owned store, owned by a really great guy who was about in his mid-30s. We dealt with all sorts of people, along with a myriad of computer issues, but this story really stuck out to me. So this lady, a Karen type, had come in with her older model laptop saying it was running really slow and sometimes would randomly freeze or shut off. I took her info, told her that we'd look into it, and I'd give her a call with more information later. Like most devices that come in, this one was neglected, and we always made a point to check the physical hardware before booting up the computers. It was no surprise for us to find an abundance of dust, hair, crumbs, and even dead insects inside the laptop, and Karen's laptop was disgusting. Upon opening it, a pungent smell of cigarette smoke immediately filled the room, and I could see the disgusting dust buildup around her fan. One of them wasn't even spinning properly because of the dust caked on it, plus some sticky stuff, which I'm assuming was a drink of some sort that basically formed a glue and glued the fan to the plastic around it. Definitely found the overheating problem. After that, I turned it on and ran some scans to see if anything else could be causing the slowdown, and found her problem. Long story short, she has 8 GB of RAM in her laptop, but one RAM stick decided to fail, which is common, so she was only running on 4 GB of RAM. I won't bore you with the details. I called Karen, left a message notifying her that we found the overheating issue and found the reason why her laptop was slowing down. I also told her she would have to buy another 4 GB of RAM to get things running up to speed again, and if she would be okay with it. The next day in the early afternoon, it was me and my boss working. I was helping someone else when Karen came in. My boss says hello, got her information, and brought the laptop out for her. This is the conversation that happened next, pieced together by what I overheard and what my boss told me. Bossman explained to her that the random shutdown issues was caused by the amount of buildup inside the laptop, and that it would be best if she kept it away from dusty areas and made sure it was used on a clean surface like a table rather than on a pillow or in bed on blankets. Karen brushed him off though and said, "Okay, but is there anything else that's causing it to slow down in the computer itself?" My boss said, "We left you a message yesterday. We found the problem to be a memory issue, and you'd need to buy a new stick of RAM." She started to get impatient and said, "I thought you were calling for me to pick it up. I didn't check the message. I missed the call and just assumed you were calling me to come get it." Boss man hesitated a bit, but then said, "Oh, well, if you have some time, you can wait a few minutes, and once you buy the new memory, we can install it, and you'll be good to go." Karen complained that he was just trying to get her to buy hardware to make a sale, so my boss booted up her laptop to show her the system was only reading 4 GB of memory. And as it was loading, Karen made a little quip about the speed again, but the boss ignored her. He explained to her what he was doing, what memory does for the computer, when Karen started to complain about how slow he was. She says, "Can't you do this any faster? Ugh, you should have done all of this yesterday when I dropped it off." My boss replied, "I understand your frustration, but we left a message yesterday for you, and we can't just install new parts without your permission, just in case you don't want it, or you want a second opinion from somewhere else." Boss man had the patience of the gods, I swear. As they waited, I heard her start tapping her fingers on the counter and tapping her foot on the tiled floor. It was very obvious that this woman was antsy and impatient and just wanted out of there. She seemed to be the type that expected everything to just get done at the snap of her nasty, bony little fingers. She then rudely said, "How do you guys run a business with the speed you guys are going at? This is insane." At this point, my customer looked right at me, widened his eyes in disbelief at how awful this lady was, and I smiled at him, silently communicating that whatever he was thinking, I was agreeing. Bossman replied gently, "Well, we try to be as quick as possible, but we try to pay attention to detail, so that can take time." Karen rolled her eyes and nonchalantly mumbled, "Unacceptable. If I owned this place, you would be fired. There's no way you'd work here for me." And I'll never forget this. My boss looks at her and says, "Well, ma'am, I do work here, and there's nothing you can do about it. As a matter of fact, I'm the owner of this place, and as such, I must inform you that due to your behavior, we will no longer service you or your device." He canceled whatever the laptop was doing, closed it, and pushed it at her across the counter and said, "I wish you a good day. Please leave my store." Karen did this loud, incoherent noise, says she wasn't planning on paying for the extra memory anyway, grabbed her stuff, and quickly exited. Right after she left, I heard my boss mutter under his breath some curse words at her. My customer and I laughed out loud, and we were very glad the crazy lady was gone. Oh, Karen. Oh, Karen. I'm still trying to wrap my head around why she didn't listen to the voicemail and just assumed it was a call for her laptop to be picked up. It also must be really nice to be able to fire customers and refuse to serve them. This last story is titled, "ID Please, I Work Here." This happened 4 years ago when I was starting my senior year of college. I started working at this really popular bar at my university as a cook, fresh out of a crappy catering job. It was the beginning of the school year, and thus the beginning of college football season. I was ecstatic because I had just turned 21 a week after I started there and got free drinks as well. As dumb as that statement is, it's important later. About 3 weeks into the job, our college had their first home game, and as usual, the entire university is absolute pandemonium between traffic and everyone and their mother heading for the restaurants before the game. My shift started after the game, so I started heading to the bar around that afternoon. Remember when I said the bar was popular? There was a line of like 16 or 18 half-drunk college students waiting outside the door to get in, while a bored-looking security guard took their IDs. Seeing as how I was new there, I wasn't sure what to expect on game day or how busy it was. Normally, I would just use the back entrance to get into work, but the entire back lot and the back entrance was blocked off to be used as a party area and dance floor, so the front entrance was my only option. I started making my way to the front entrance to walk through when all of a sudden the guard stopped me. This woman had that permanent scowl of someone who doesn't get paid enough to deal with drunks, along with that attitude. The guard says, "Where the hell do y'all think you're going?" I replied, I work here, my shift's starting." Nice try. Now get in line." I told her, "Ma'am, I'm not kidding, I actually work here. You got any kind of ID or badge that proves it?" Probably worth noting that I didn't even have a uniform. The cooks wear dish shirts over their regular clothes. I sighed and handed over my ID. The guard says, "Okay, you're 21. Still ain't gonna let you skip the line unless you prove you work here." Me, getting irritated, said, "Look, can you just get the manager or something so he can prove it? I really need to get to work." The guard replied, "You see this line? I ain't going anywhere. If you want in, y'all gonna have to wait in line." At this point, the students are getting pissed off at me for supposedly holding the line up, and I'm getting pissed off because I can't even go to work without being late, and I was running out of options. That's when I realized I was late, but that turned out to be my saving grace. My manager Chris called me around that moment. Chris said, "OP, are you almost here?" I replied, "Oh, actually, I'm here, but security's not letting me in." I was staring at her the whole time I said this. Chris said give me a sec, and he hung up and came outside a second later. He chewed out the guard for not even attempting to check with him to see if I was telling the truth and making me late, and he got me into the bar to start working. Chris and I had a good laugh about me getting carded to go to work, and the fact that this would have been a lot more complicated if I didn't turn 21 a couple of weeks before. Ah, good times. You know what, to be completely fair to that security guard, she's probably had enough of drunk kids trying to cut the line by using that excuse before. Good thing OP's boss called when he did, or legend would have it that OP's still in line waiting to go to work. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories today because I sure as heck did. Thank you again to the 2 subscribers who sent me your wonderful stories. Guys, if you missed the last episode of r/IDOWorkHereLady, OP's car gets towed by security who does not believe he works where he does. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.